Hi, this is Stephen Brower from Merritt Valley Community College. This is for Computer Literacy Summer 2017, and this is part 2 of the Introduction to Excel. So previously on Lost, I had just accepted this formula that is here. And what I'm going to do is let me hit the F2 key, function key, and it puts us in sort of an edit mode. Actually, let me just hit escape just to get out of it. Let me come back up here. So here, if I do function F2, it puts me in the sort of the edit mode, and I can sort of go through here and maybe change the text that I have and then enter it. So the F2 puts us in the sort of an edit mode. And same thing if I come here and I hit F2, it puts me in the edit mode, which means I could go and change the formula that's here. Now, since I hit the sigma button, it put in the sum function. And I mentioned that what was inside here is a range from upper left to lower right, so B4 to B6. Now, since there's no special symbols in front of the B or the 4, or in front of the B or the 6, this is what we call a relative cell reference. And what we mean by a relative cell reference, it's only when you go to copy a formula do then we need to know, is it a relative cell reference or not. And so if I were to take the formula that's here, the sum B4 to B6, using this autofill, if I bring it now let me just do 1 to the right, what it does, let me click just in here so we can see, is see how it has, when it copied it, it adjusted it from, instead of saying B4 to B6, it's saying C4 to C6. So if we're thinking of relative reference, let's come back to this one right here. This was really the same column 1, 2, 3 rows back to the same column 1 row up. And so if it's the same 3 back, or sort of 3 up, same column 3 rows back, same column 1 row back, then when it copied it to here, same column C 3 rows back 4, same column C 1 row back 6. So the when the autofill is being used, it will adjust the formula. And if it's a relative cell reference, it does it relative to that point. Meaning, this is going to sound silly, if I just go and bring this, okay, I'm going a little bit too crazy, but let's say I bring it to this point. I just did a copy. If we look at the formula that's here, same column, H, 3 rows back, which is 13, same column, H, 1 row back, 15. So when the formula is copied, it adjusts it relative to where it is. Let me just kind of undo this. Okay. Oh, by the way, I should talk a little bit about escape. Whoops, because I don't think I mentioned it before. Okay. When I'm in this mode here, if I start, this is the edit mode. If I start making a change and then I hit the escape key, the change that I started typing was gone. So the nice thing is about Excel is that when we're in the process of entering some data, if we hit escape, it's gone. If I'm typing something I care about, so I'm going to put here Springfield soda sales, or let me do Springfield soda distributor. Okay, and I haven't hit enter yet. I got my blinking cursor here. Suppose I accidentally hit escape. Oops. Since escape will undo when we started typing, it just wiped out the Springfield soda distributor that I had typed in. So escape can be good, escape can be bad. So something we have to be mindful of. So you want to think twice before we hit escape. Now the other thing is when we are in Word, a lot of times the directions where we'll click somewhere else to deselect something. And if we're in Excel, that actually sometimes can work. That sometimes, this is where we have to be careful, that is clicking can sort of maybe get us out of a mode. But if we're in, and this, what I'm starting to do here is I'm going to put us in formula mode. So I'm going to hit the equal sign. And the equal sign is what formulas will begin with. Actually, I'm deliberately at escape now. And if I take a look back here, that this function that was here began equals, and then it was the function SUM. So it's sort of like when we're typing something into a cell. If I start typing with letters, it just knows it's text. If I start typing with numbers, it knows it's a number. But if I start typing with equals, it knows it's a formula. So here, I'm going to start to type equals. And now that we're in this formula mode, wherever we click it's going to go into the formula. So suppose I want the 86 that's under January for burpee. Suppose I want that as part of the formula. And let's just pretend I have bad hand-eye, no, it's not a pretend. I have bad hand-eye coordination. And let's say I go and I click here, I go, oh, wait, that's not what I want. And so we were used to in Word, we'll just click elsewhere to get away from it. Well, now wherever we click, it's almost kind of annoying, or can be kind of fun, whichever way you look at it, that wherever we click, it's being used in terms of the formula mode. So if we got into the habit, when we were in Word, if we got into the habit of just clicking elsewhere to get out of whatever we're in, be mindful that in Excel, if we're in formula mode, it doesn't get us out. It just, wherever we click on, then becomes part of the formula. So just something we have to be mindful of. Now, if I hit escape, let me just hit that. If I hit escape, then it'll clear out what it had started to type. Okay, let me go and do this again though. So the nice thing about the formula mode, I click something, that's part of the formula. So I have now, I want this, I hit the plus sign, this is going to add to the formula. Now I can click somewhere else and this will add in. I'm going to type the plus sign again, and I'm going to click somewhere else. One thing that Excel does, which is kind of nice in terms of the formula, we can see this is sort of like bluish here, and there's the bluish, and then this is reddish here, and here's the red, and this is, I think that's purple. Well, maybe it's mauve here, and this is sort of purpley as well. And what I just did is I manually had selected items. Now, normally we would use the sum function, but it is just showing that a formula. So plus is for addition, minus is for subtraction. The asterisk or the star, if you look over the 8 on your keyboard, that would be for multiplication. And if you look in the lower right-hand corner of the keyboard where the question mark is, under the question mark, that slash that's there, that would be for division. And so we can use those symbols for entering in our formulas. Anyway, let's finish this one. Let me press enter. And so what I now have here at this point is the B4 plus C4 plus D4. So again, as a relative cell references, let me just go back in the edit mode. As relative cell references, it is saying, so the B is 1, 2, 3 columns back, 4 is the same row. The C, 1, 2 columns to the left, 4 is the same row. D, 1 column to the left, the 4 is the same row. So if this is the formula that's here, then when we go and take this and copy it down 1, so then if I look at the adjusted formula here, so the B, 1, 2, 3 columns to the left, and the 5 same row. The C, 1, 2 columns to the left, and the 5 the same row. And then the D, 1 column to the left, and the 5 is the same row. So in terms of this sort of relative cell reference, it will adjust it appropriately. Okay, so now in terms of here, we either could, and I know this was still highlighted, and it's been the elephant in the room I've been ignoring, but if I either take the formula that's here and autofill it to the right, this should be the total of that column. So there is a sum here, and that's the total of that column. Let me undo. Or if I take this and I bring it down, then this here is the sum of the 3 to the left, and it ends up being the same number. Anyway, so this is our grand total. So this is all the brands over all 3 months in terms of the sales that we have. Okay, let me just pause for a second. All right, let me just quickly get some formats onto this. One, let me come back here, and I was trying to do, oh, you know what, let me do this. The Springfield soda distributor, let's say I want that as the first row, and the soda sales by brand I want as the second. So let me deliberately do the move on this. So I've highlighted A1, and remember the contents A1 is this. I'm going to make sure that my mouse pointer is the up, down, left, right arrows, and I'm going to click and drag down. And so what that does is it moves that data that was in A1 down one. So now let me come here. Let's do that Springfield. Oh, actually, you know what I should have mentioned before? As soon as I type the S, what Excel does is it tries to be helpful. And basically, if you're in a column of numbers, it'll look at the column, and if there's something that is kind of starting the same way, it tries to fill in thinking this is what you want. Now, it's not what I want. I want Springfield. And as soon as I hit a different letter, the rest of that stuff disappears. So let's do Springfield soda distributor. Okay. By the way, the chapter goes through some painful formatting. But one thing I want to do first, though, is if I want this to be centered over all 5 of these columns, one thing I can do is I just highlighted A1 to E1. And got to be careful. I did make sure I had the white cross. So if I have the white cross and I highlight through here, those cells are highlighted. If I had this and I highlighted through here, it just did a copy. Let me just do an undo. And if I had it like this and I move through, it did a move. So you have to be careful if you are trying to select. I want to select A1 through E1. And what I want to do is I want to do the merge cells. Now, one thing, since I have the screen shrunk down a little bit, it might not be as obvious that here's the merge and center button. So let me go and click it, and that's merged and centered over. And so the idea is as these columns change their width, at least it's going to be centered over those 5. And let me do the same thing here. Let me do the merge and center for the soda sales by brand. Now, the chapter does have us go through doing some specific formatting, you know, bold and so on. And what I want to do is show sort of like a quick and dirty way. So if I highlight this first thing right here under cell styles, well, what I could do is I could make this, and let me just deal with the left-hand side here. Let me make this the heading 1, and let me click on the second one, and let me go into cell styles and make this heading 2. And so now what I can do is go through these. So I'm highlighting A1 through E, and let's call those heading 3. Let's take these and let me make these just plain old heading 4. Okay, so they don't have the line under it. And in terms of the total down here, let's actually go and pick the total line. And so what I'm just doing is I just picked, instead of formatting these with increasing the font size, with bolding them, with putting the underline in, I'm just picking the styles that are already available. So it just makes the formatting of this sort of quick. Let me save this, and let me put it into my, well, let me pause for a second. And I just realized the time, since I'm cheap and I haven't paid for the Screencast-O-Matic, I only get 15 minutes for the videos. But let me just go and save this. And so what I'll have to do is in part 3, then I'll do the chart, which would be the last thing that I want to go through. So this will end part 2 for right now.